what's up? It's Jeremy Picker from Amber Creative.
This is Deanna with In the Zoning and Print Girl Mafia.
This is Ray Weiss with Printing United Alliance.
You're listening to the Two Regular Guys podcast.
Hosted by Terry Combs RG, Regular Guy, and Aaron Montgomery.
The place to be for industry news.
The best dad jokes on earth, along with relevant topics to apparel decorators.
Fashion to the people.
All right, welcome into the show. It is Friday, June 12th, 2026. I'm Terry Combs. You can find me at terrycombs.com.
And I'm Aaron Montgomery from Super Gamut and our Success Group. And Terry, this week we're going to be talking about the garment and product decorators' kind of perpetual battle here, right? This idea of the production department versus the sales guys, and you claim we can all just get along. So we're going to expect you on it. Funny enough, when I posted this show this week, I had a friend message me, and he works in the production side of his business, but is also working on his own business. And his message to me was, "You're joking, right?" So
we can't all get along. Is that the deal?
Yeah. And so I said, "Well, Terry claims this to be true, so you got to tune in."
Exactly. Make sure you stay till the very end. Also, I'm going to be bringing the secret sauce. My secret sauce today is, if we only had purple, I could sell more. So tune in and see what that's all about.
Yeah, I can't wait to learn about that one. Definitely we'll be ready to be taking some notes here and looking forward to the secret sauce on top of this awesome conversation we get to have together. I love when I get a chance to interview you, Terry, so I always get giddy for these days. All right, well, speaking of giddy, I'm always excited to have Cassie Green from The Apparelist joining us here today. She's in live here. She's not traveling the globe somewhere. We've actually got her live in studio here. So, Terry, are you ready to hear the news?
Yes, absolutely. Let's hear the news from Cassie.
Ooh, hello, everybody. Oh. I don't know if you all can hear me. Oh, there we go. Sorry, was having little technical difficulties here. I almost don't know how to do this live anymore, y'all. I get to do it from the road so much, but very excited that I'm live today. I've got lots of great headlines for everybody. So first up, Stahls hosts upcoming Heat Press Pro Day in Michigan. So Stahls will host its Heat Press Pro Day at its Chesterfield Township SF1 showroom, offering apparel decorators a hands-on training experience focused on improving production, efficiency, driving sales, and scaling operations. The session will take place July 9th, 2026 from 9 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Designed for both new and established decorators, the one-day event combines live instruction with practical business insights aimed at helping attendees strengthen their apparel decoration capabilities in a competitive market. And then a bonus key component here of this event is an exclusive SF1 facility tour, providing a behind-the-scenes look at Stahls' innovation and testing environment. I've also got another headline for you. LAT Apparel welcomes Mary Bostwick as Southeast Territory Manager. LAT Apparel announces the appointment of Bostwick as the sales manager effective Monday, June 15th, 2026. A Georgia resident based in Auburn and originally from Jacksonville Beach, Florida, Bostwick brings more than 30 years of experience in the apparel industry to LAT's sales organization. She spent 28 years with Delta, that's probably where most of you know her from, followed by her most recent role with Vantage Apparel, building a strong reputation for leadership, customer engagement, and market expertise. So if you know Mary, if you're connected with her on LinkedIn, wherever, give her a big congratulations. This is pretty exciting. My third and final headline today, how volunteer leaders help Printing United Alliance drive change. Printing United Alliance volunteer groups continue to drive meaningful progress across advocacy, sustainability, regulatory education, workforce development, and workplace safety. And now is the perfect time to get involved. So one of the things we do as the Alliance is we want to really make sure we're active in the community and just encouraging all of you members to participate as well. So applications for Alliance volunteer groups are open through June 30th, giving members the opportunity to shape initiatives, resources, and programs that directly support the industry. So applications to serve are in the following committees, councils, and advisory boards. That is Health and Safety Advisory Board, Ink and Chemical Manufacturers Advisory Board, Legislative Affairs Committee, and the Sustainability Advisory Board. So if you're a member and any of those sound like they're in your wheelhouse, please do apply. Again, we like to make sure we're active and involving members in the industry. That's all I have for you guys today. I can't wait for the dad joke.
All right. Thank you, Cassie, for bringing the news. What stood out, Terry?
Yeah, we just had stalls on last week. They are all about education, and to see events like that going on. So
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. And then her last headline there about the volunteers. I did go and apply actually already, so we'll see. Now I will be honest. The list that she gave, there were a couple of other advisory boards, but I think they're probably already full. But I just said for future, I'm probably better suited for one of those. So I just thrown it out there for you folks at Printing United. I'm on board, but the education, the workforce development, those are a little bit more in my wheelhouse. So here we go.
yeah, get out there and volunteer, be a part of the event. I mean, it is around the corner.
Yeah, absolutely. For the expo as well. Yeah, absolutely. Cool. All right. Well, good stuff there. Let's see. Eric was letting us know you had a theory that maybe the internet was blowing up because everybody's trying to buy their SpaceX stock, but
Yes,
we've had some technical difficulties this morning, so I think everybody's still tuning in here. But Ramona shared a little bit earlier. Good morning. This sounds wonderful. That Stalls news about the Pro Day and the education. Love that. And then let's see who else is checking in here. I've got my son Keegan joining us this morning, the Keegster. Thank you for being here, buddy.
Same.
Great to see you. All right. Well, Terry, Cassie's looking forward to the dad joke. She's actually waiting in the background for this. So let's get right to it.
All right, let's do it. Aaron, I was driving past a cemetery this morning and saw a man walking around. I shouted, "Morning."
Oh, interesting. Yeah. What happened?
Yeah, he said, "No, just walking the dog." For our podcast listeners, morning, M-O-R-N, or morning, M-O-U-R-N.
Is that what makes a Terry style dad joke where there's a maybe a spelling or we have to explain it to the podcast listeners? I think I like it. I like it for sure.
I always look to see which shows Cassie's going to be on because you gotta bring it strong.
You got to bring it strong. Well, Cassie said in a private chat, Cassie, I'm going to share. I apologize if ask for forgiveness here, but she says as an English major and word nerd, it's approved. So love it so much.
Journalism degree. So.
Yeah. And Andy says I actually like that joke. There we go. So
all right, Andy. All right, Aaron, before we dive in, we want to thank everybody for checking out the Two Regular Guys podcast. We need your voices still. We would love to have the regulators participate in our show intros. Go to osg.link/intro, read a few sentences, be a part of every show. Don't be left out. We are always looking for new guests, so if you or anyone you know would like to join us, go to calendly.com/2 regular guys to book a future episode, or you can email us at info@tworegularguys.com with show ideas. If you are listening to the podcast version of our show, we would appreciate you sharing the Two Regular Guys podcast with all of your industry friends so they can become regulators too. And we would appreciate you giving us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, wherever you do your podcast listening, we are there. And if you're watching us live right now, please join in with your comments and your questions and your ideas about who's right, production or sales.
Yeah. Well, and people can also join in with their dad jokes too, if you want. No, I say that because Keegan says he has one. So if I could just share that with you guys really quick He says, "What brand of underwear do scientists wear?"
What brand do they wear?
Kelvin Klein.
That's a sexter joke.
Yeah, that's a good one, Keegan. Thank you, buddy. And then Sean said, I would have misspelled morning. So good morning, John. Appreciate the spelling there. I love it. All right. Well, yes, Terry, let's get into this because as my friend said, you're joking, right? And I know that this to be true, that you are somebody that understands this. You've been on both sides of the streets. You've certainly helped a lot of people run production. You've run big production. You've done all that. But you're also, my title for you, I love calling you this, the sales dog, DAWG, though. So just be
DAWG, dog.
not derogatory. It's actually very positive. So, right, like, so this idea, right, there is this friction, right? And you'll tell us a little bit about this friction. So what is that friction, and maybe where does it come from?
Well, Aaron, one of the big rifts comes about because the production crew, they're in the building every day.
Yep.
And a lot of times the sales reps work usually, outside the facility, sometimes entirely outside of the facility. So there's little face-to-face interaction or little opportunity to kind of work out your little differences before they become really, really big differences. So, that's kind of where we are on that. The folks and depending on which side of the street our listeners are on, here's what you hear on the production floor. Those guys, those salespeople, they don't have a clue what we do here. And the sales department is always trying to push orders through and turn our schedule upside down. And it is, when your schedule keeps getting pulled and pushed and turned, it is frustrating. It is inefficient. So, it can be frustrating out there on the floor. Something else you'll hear is, we're here working overtime on Saturday to take care of their rush orders. And the sales team, they're all up playing golf. Now, that's an assumption.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
I've heard production people say, I've never seen those people sweat like you do on the production floor. And then to encompass it all, they hate us. Yeah. Production says sales hates us.
Yeah. Because they feel like, the things that sales is asking of them is making their job more difficult. And
exactly.
Yeah. So interesting, right? So, okay, I can see all those points, but put on your sales dog hat. What's your version of the story from that side of the street?
Okay. Well, here's what sales says. They don't have a clue what we do out here. And sometimes we all need to jump through hoops to keep a customer happy. And the production crew, they don't see it. They don't see us out here smoothing over errors and maybe an error that the production department made. The salesperson is the person who has to go in there and say, hey, we're really sorry. What can we do to make this right?
Yeah.
And salespeople are thinking, those production guys, they just went home and like it was another day. And I'm out here scrambling, trying to save this account. Yeah. The sales department also, and I've seen this, Aaron, in so many shops that I go into, where sales says they should control the production schedule because we live out there in those sales trenches and we know what order should go next. And I've walked on production floors. I'll talk about that a little bit, where the sales department schedules all the production.
Oh, wow.
And then, the sales guys say production, they just follow the list. They don't care what's a priority. They don't care what's important. And then sales wraps it all up by saying they hate us. Production hates us.
I just find it so interesting, right? You started both sides of each person, right? The production's going, they don't have a clue what we do here, followed with, kind of the culmination of they hate us. Right, where sales say they don't have a clue what we do out here, followed by the culmination of they hate us. Right, so it's such an interesting juxtaposition there. Now, from your
what we could walk on to, anybody who's listening right now who's in production, when you say, the sales guys say, the eyes are starting to roll. Okay, what do the sales guys say? So anyway,
Yeah. Well, and again, so to kind of what you're talking about there, right? Like maybe the solution here is to just walk a mile in their shoes first and foremost. But I think we'll get into some of the solutions as we
yeah,
go here. Now, when you were explaining that you had been in some places where sales controlled the production schedule, I could hear a slight bit of like, don't think that's a good idea. So, just knowing you, I know that you believe that's not a great idea. Can you tell us why?
but I have a story, Aaron.
Oh my goodness.
I know our listeners are shocked to hear that.
Yeah.
Of my 8 stories, this is number 7.
Get out your bingo cards, everyone.
Yeah, for any new listeners, the guys Aaron and Eric say that I have 8 to 12 stories that I just repackage over and over again. So,
Well, but
but
you have to just share the last part of it though, because we do say that, but then I go and I could listen to them over, oh, I'm ready for the story. I've heard this 100 times, but it's going to be exciting this time too. So anyhow, sorry.
there's always a new version, a
Yeah,
new
that's right.
updated version. Okay, so I'm doing a consulting job, and I like to you talk to everybody, but I kind of like to walk around and just kind of get a feel for the place. And there's a young lady that walks out, and they had magnetic schedule boards up on the wall, and they had and each job had a magnet and some notes on it, the order number and that sort of thing. And one of them, these guys were printing bolts of fabric with big screens, and it's like the third world. They were taking the screens, and you move down, and
Yeah.
you pull squeegee with the handles on it, and and I said, "Wow, that's a lot of orders on that board for the fabric." And what they would do with the fabric is they would cut it into boxer shorts with collegiate logos on it,
Right.
and I said, yeah, these orders are higher than you can reach and all the way to the floor. And she goes, yeah, we're about 4 months behind schedule. And I'm like, well, wow, how is that? How many of these? I see you putting magnets on this board here at the bottom. How many do you put on a day? And she said, well, the sales manager does the production schedule, and he says we need to do 6 orders a day to get this, to get caught up. And I said, how many magnets do you take off the board every day as finished? Usually 2. And I said, well, let me get this straight. The sales manager schedules production. He says you have to put 6 magnets on the board to get caught up, but you only take 2 off a day. At what point are you anticipating getting caught up? Well, the sales manager tells me to put 6 of these on the board every day. I was caught into the phone loop,
Yeah, yes.
Just 2 for.
I don't know what you're asking me. I'm just telling you what I know.
But well, and part of that too. First of all, yes, I get it. The sales department says we have to get 6 of these done a day to get caught up, but there was no capability of being caught up the way they were doing it. So I did get them to automate that process, and they blew through that schedule. Once what I went out and bought for them was a used, and old time screen printers are going to know what I'm talking about. A used precision jumbo oval.
Okay.
It would print 22 inches by 30 inches with big huge screens, water-based ink, 6 colors, and blew through that schedule. But there's the conflict. Sales says you have to do this. Production had 0 capability of accomplishing the task, and that's the case with a lot of production. Is there was another consultation I was doing where the owner said we pay out hundreds of dollars in bonuses every week for our printers for exceeding their quota, and we get further behind every week. And I'm like, well, that's impossible, isn't it? And he goes, well, yeah, it is impossible. We can't figure it out. Well, they were only tracking how long it took to print a shirt. They weren't tracking how long it took to set up the press. They weren't tracking how long it took to tear down the press, and which means that almost all of the actual press operators took huge advantage of that. They're walking out on the dock and having a Pepsi and smoking a cigarette, and I always joke they go to the art department and flirt with the new artist, and then they come back and start cranking through it. So, but anyway, that's yeah. I'm going to say yes. Sales should not control the production schedule, but sales has to have a part in the production schedule.
Yeah. And okay, so let's talk about that then, because I see it, right, and your story illustrated 6 going on, 2 coming off, but the sales manager was in control of it, so his purview was only his side of it, right, which was the input.
Right.
And nobody was really focusing on the output, right? The person responsible for taking it off just was doing what they were told and not looking at, to your, what the solution that you came up with was you put your production hat on and said, okay, 6 in is fine, but I have to be able to get 8 out or 10 out or whatever, right? And so what do we need to change there? So how do you look at it that way, right? How do you kind of marry those two things together where you're basically are making everybody happy, right? You give them the opportunity to get along.
Exactly right. Well, one thing that I'm a huge proponent of, and Aaron, we've talked about it here dozens of times, is estimated production time. And I have, and you know me, Aaron, I like to make things as simple for people as possible. No complicated formulas and this and that. And what I tell people is, it's just a T-shirt. Nobody dies. Everybody relax a little bit. It just doesn't have to be complicated. But one thing that I do is I have created an estimate of how long it takes to set up a 1-color, a 2-color, a 6-color job, a manual job, an automatic job. And here's a number. This is the amount of time that's allotted to set up that job. Then to print, there's a percentage times however many pieces you're printing, and that's your actual production time. And then to tear down the press, I have a number for tearing down a 1-color, a 2-color, a 6-color, whatever, and that is our schedule. That's what we block out on our schedule. And maybe I have 3 manual presses, so I have 3 columns where I can drop into the schedule. Okay, this job's going to take. And I break it down in 15-minute increments. So this job's going to take an hour and 15 minutes. This job's going to take 2 hours. This job's going to take 30 minutes. And that is the entire process, the setup, print production, and tear down. And the clock starts ticking again when you put down the last screen that you've torn down and you reach for the next screen. The clock is ticking on that next job. But here's, Aaron, where people get into trouble. They will, and I've seen this so many times. Okay, we're going to figure out how long it takes to print a 4-color job, and okay, go. And they start the time, or start the stopwatch, and people are, and for whatever reason, they're printing as fast as they can, and now they've set the standard for themselves. And so when we're doing our production schedule, people are basing it on the ideal scenario of production, not real life production, where you get an order and it says blue. Well, let's take a stroll sales department to the ink room, and you see this wall right here? That's blue. We've got your Navy, we've got your Royal, we've got the Naval Academy Navy, we've got all these different, but where people really get in trouble with estimated production time is they base it on what they wish production was. Our sales manager at this company where I was consulting, he wished they were getting 6 of those jobs printed a day.
Yeah,
but they were only capable of scheduling or printing 2 jobs. And yes, did we get them caught up? Did we automate that process? Absolutely, but not today. On the day that she was putting those magnets on the board, they needed to be scheduling 2 jobs and not 6 jobs. And so people they schedule based on wishful thinking.
Yeah.
So anyway, my schedule is based on what this production floor is capable of turning out right now today. And it doesn't have to be screen printing. It could be a DTF. It could be DTG. It could be embroidery. It could be anything. But there is a finite number of hours in the day that we can schedule. Now, my schedule, I'm going to take orders, and every order that comes in the door, it takes me about 30 seconds, 15 seconds to calculate how long this order should take.
Yeah.
And so press number 1, I've just blocked out 2 hours and 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And so I can say definitively, when that order hits my desk, we will print this order next week on Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
But here's the part for sales, because sales is also correct. I've worked at a couple of different production facilities, Aaron, where I would print for Disney. Well, guess what? When Disney calls and says, we have run out of this one graphic you guys do for us, and we are desperate. Guess what? That gets bumped ahead, and you're doing it. I agree with sales. If you have an account like Disney, you got to keep them happy, because there are 1,000 other screen printers or 1,000 other decorators out there that would love to have that account. So, but here's what I do. I schedule 80% of my available production time for every coming week. I set aside 10% of my production schedule for whatever catastrophe might happen.
Yeah.
We've lost power for half a day. I was running a production floor in Ohio once, and they were building a building next door, and heavy equipment crushed our gas line coming in our building twice. Well, I had gas dryers, so I was shut down until lines could be so I block out 10% of my schedule for whatever might go awry.
Okay.
Your 10% belongs to the sales manager. It's on your desk. You tell me what orders you want me to pull ahead. You tell me if Disney just called you and you need to drop that order in there. This belongs to you. And and of course, if the sales manager doesn't use that time, or we don't have a catastrophe that week, and all the production people are laughing. What week don't you have some kind of catastrophe?
Yeah.
But then I'm pulling orders from the next week, and I have never once had a customer say, "Oh, you told me next Tuesday. I don't need it today. I need it next Tuesday." No one's said that to me.
Yeah.
But it's so number one, you have to know what you are capable of doing on your production floor. Never schedule based on wishful thinking. And then, and Aaron, then you start trying to make improvements on your production schedule. But until the day that you say, you know what, we are 10% faster, and so you can change your schedule.
Yep.
But we have learned how to set up in half the time than we used to. Well, now we've changed how we schedule production.
Yeah.
You have to use real numbers today, and I sound like a very low flying plane just went over.
We didn't hear it, so keep going.
But then sales also has that control, because Aaron, we've heard it all. I had a sales guy walk into my office, hat in hand, one day, and he goes, "Hey Terry, is there any chance you could squeeze this order in for me?" I'm like, "Well, where's it been?" And he said, "So I got this new puppy," and I stop right there. Do not tell me your dog ate your homework. And he says, "Kinda." He pulled it under the couch. I don't know. I just found it, and I'm in a panic because these people are expecting their product. But I said, "You know what? Go see Jeff, the sales manager. He's got 10% of the schedule. He'll schedule this for you." And so it made for a lot of peace on my production floor, and a lot less of "they hate me" to "hey, yeah, this works. This works for all of us."
Yeah, I love it. And Terry, just from the sales perspective and maybe customer service perspective even more, like as a salesperson, as somebody that's interacting with the customers, you want your production people to be working from real numbers, right? Because it's
Oh
not
yeah.
about saying we're going to get everything done today. It's about saying, here's where we're going to get that done. It's about setting those correct expectations. And then, like you said, you've given yourself, so you're probably over delivering more so than under delivering it. And so I think the sales ends up in a bind when they've told somebody it's going to be Tuesday and it's actually ends up being Thursday. But like you said, if we tell somebody it's been Tuesday and you can show up with them on Monday, that
Yeah.
customer, oh man, you guys, wow, you knocked it out
Yeah,
of the
they're
park.
awesome.
This is awesome, right?
Yeah,
So,
that order's already been delivered. So yeah.
and I think so from a sales perspective, you want those, right? You want to encourage those real numbers. Like you said, when you've got a sales manager running that schedule, all they've got to go off is really wishful thinking. And so,
Yeah.
and like you said, it's not difficult. It doesn't have to be some magic formula and you got to go buy 27 timers and code an algorithm and stuff like that. To Terry's always carrying that junior yellow legal pad. Make a note. Okay, start time, right? And do it, because I see it in DTF all the time too. Like, oh well, I can do this in 10 seconds. I can press it. Well, but how long did it take you to cut the film? How long did it take you to set it up? And and like you said, you can do things along the way to improve that, right? There's technology to be able to improve that, but until you get to that point, you've got to plan accordingly. So
Yeah, Aaron, and again, what haven't we already talked about before? But I've done consulting jobs years ago where the owner would introduce me and say, "This is Terry. He's a longtime production guy. He's going to show us how we can double our production output in 30 days or less." And the press operators, their eyes turn into saucers. They're like, "I can't print any faster." And
probably like got their picks out too to like come after you.
yeah. Who the heck is this guy?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's never on most production floors. It's never the actual printing or that part that's the holdup, or rarely is the holdup. It's everything else. It's the wandering around looking for the mediums that didn't get pulled. It's the walk into the sales department saying, "Hey, this just says blue. Oh, it's royal. Okay, well, will you sign that it's royal? Oh, let me call the customer. Yeah, it's light blue. It's but most production floors that I've walked onto, and most of these floors I've walked onto, is they called me because they're in trouble. Not that they don't have business; they have plenty of business. They just can't get it out the door. And most of the time, I'll walk on a floor, and rarely will every press be operating. I've walked on production floors where not one press was operating because somebody's looking for a squeegee, and it's just chaos. And getting control of your production schedule is all the periphery things. It's not the actual pulling or pushing of a squeegee or the actual embroidering a hat. It's all the other things that are involved in the process. So this has turned directly from sales versus production to estimating production time. So move forward.
I love it. All right. Well, yeah, obviously through these stories, we've seen you live this, and you've given us some great resources and ideas to kind of get people back on the same page. But what's the big solution, right? Once you start kind of understanding and getting everybody to play nicely on the production schedule, what other things can we do to bring this into this kumbaya moment?
Well, the biggest thing, obviously, and it's not just production versus sales. It's management and the people in the shipping department. Everybody, it's communication. Everybody needs. You need to have some type of a platform where there's communication through the whole company, and communication and mutual respect for each other. That's the key, in my opinion. So
yeah, I would agree with that. Right, communication, and well, I think it goes back to something I said a little bit earlier, and what I've been hearing you say throughout this conversation, right, is this kind of idea of just walk a mile in their shoes, right? And that starts with, just asking them, right? Like, why did we, have trouble with that? Or, like to your point, right? Like just that communication about, okay, well, what color blue are we really talking about, right? Because the sales guy's like, I'm just crazy, just go with blue, it's fine, right? And but then the production person's going, great, I understand that you're busy, but do you want to deliver something incorrectly, or shall we do this right? Can you take a second and let's do that, right?
Aaron, and let me add something else about the production schedule. This drives sales crazy when I show up. Nothing goes on the production schedule until the order is complete. And they're like, what's right here? Well, there's no quantities. Well, yeah, they're going to get me the quantities. They'll if you're going to print on Tuesday, they'll have the quantities to me by Monday. No, it goes on the production schedule when it's complete, because invariably you got the screens ready, you're ready to go, and they don't call you with the sizes, they don't call you with the breakdown, and now you've got a kink in your production schedule because you've got it all lined out. Well, now you've got to start shifting gears and moving this order and that order, and I've just been, red-faced sales managers saying to me, "You can't do this to me," and I'm like, "You can't do this to me. Just give me a complete order. Tell your customer, hey, I can't get this order on the schedule until you have those sizes." Because if you give them the opportunity to come back to you with the information whenever they feel like it's going to cause hiccups in the production schedule. And Aaron, I don't allow hiccups in the production schedule.
Yeah. Well, and again, I think this goes back to what we were talking about just a little bit ago. Sales at the end of the day really wants this because you're going to be able to deliver a better product. You're going to be able to deliver it on time, not with the hiccups, not with the screw ups, right? Because they're going to have more difficulty with the hiccups, right? Like I was giggling as you were telling this story because I can also see this in other arenas. Like I remember back in my days as a sales manager, you remember these days, Terry, and we'd have these meetings and what sales do you have on coming up on the books, and you'd have the sales guys that, I've got this many orders and this many machines and do you have money for that? Well, no, it's coming, right? And I mean, it's hilarious.
Is this a real order?
Yeah, those real orders. I still see salespeople these days. We were, I won't get myself in trouble here by putting my foot in my mouth. I do remember talking to somebody recently at a DAX show that were like, we had this, and this, and this. And then it's like, but that's in financing, or financing fell through, but what I think people miss though is like, that's an order. That's not an order. People aren't asking for this information just for, to make you feel small or big. It's, as a sales manager, I needed to then understand what we needed to communicate to the people that were bringing in the machines. How many machines do we need? And so
right.
then, if you've got all these sales and then we've got an overstock of machines, now we're in a bad spot as a company because you didn't come through on those sales. And then vice versa, right? Like, I need to know about these things so we can make sure that everything matches up. So I think going back to your comment about just regular communication and understanding that communication is not about a gotcha. It's not about, you trying to do something to that sales manager that you were talking about, Terry, that was red in the face. It was really about, hey, I need the information to help you. And you have me do my job so you look good, right? It's a teamwork thing, so.
Yeah, and no production person wants a sales rep to go hungry. I mean, production people want to do production, so you gotta have those open lines of communication, though.
100%. All right, Terry. Well, you've given us some great examples, but do you have any other examples of any lack of communication from that big book of stories?
I have a great one. When I was in Kansas City, we were doing collegiate printing, right? And we came out with a new line every spring and every fall. And it was, the entire line of products, some of them special dyed colors, entire line of graphics. We had 10 artists, and they would create an entire line. We had somebody that created an entire line of youth graphics. And so these orders start coming in for one of the seasons, and I walked up to the front and to the sales manager, other managers, and I said, "What are these orders? These orders say 72-piece pricing, but it says 24 pairs of shorts, 24 left chest prints, 24 full chest prints." And the sales manager goes, "Oh yeah, we talked about it." And I'm like, "We?" Well, up, in sales, we thought, for 72 pricing, and we figured you could put the same graphic on all three of these graphics on one screen, and so it would count as a 72 piece. And I said, do you understand what's involved in putting three graphics on one screen, and some are taped off and and then you got to tape over the other ones, and then you still have to line them up, and oh, I thought it would be like super easy to do. And I said, why did no one think to come and have a conversation with the guys running the production floor? Why would you assume this? And I'm like, we have a managers meeting every Tuesday morning. This never came up. Well, we just assumed, and I tell you what, we lost our butts on it, because I said, I can't do this. I'm going to set up, I'm going to burn 3 screens for your 72-piece order, because I've got to set up for a full front. I've got to set up for a left chest. I got to set up for a left leg. And they say, can't you use the same left leg as the left chest? No. It's all positioning, and so, but total lack of communication, and then of course, I'm stuck with it for 6 months, because that entire season, all these people jumped on that opportunity, and my production floor, man, we were going through 3 times the number of screens for every order. And we were already doing 135 screens a day. So it was a huge burden on the entire department. But, it's just one of those things that a little bit of communication, and I could have explained to them the process involved in this, and how, what, you should be charging this as a 24-piece order and not a 72-piece order. So,
Yeah.
Sales guys, what do you do?
Yeah. Yeah, guys. All right. Well, Terry, this is we're doing great here on time, but I want to start kind of wrapping it up. Us, we'll stretch it if we are given the opportunity. But let's talk a little bit about just some other ideas, right? We've generally talked about kind of, and I see you wearing your production hat quite a bit. I want to see kind of some more sales ideas here, but
Yeah,
just
sure.
in general, like what's a happy workplace? How can we make everybody, not make everybody, we get everybody to get along. They're inspired
Yeah.
to get along, right?
Well, and Aaron, a big part of that is management's mindset that hey, we management, sales, and management and production can't be carrying a pitchfork too. You can't be carrying the torch with the rest of the production crew. You can't be carrying the pitchfork in front of all the salespeople. Going after production. You have to have that mindset that, hey, we all need to work together, act like a team, and that doesn't mean one side gives in to the other. That just means and it's true, we're all here for one goal, one purpose, is to sell, make a profit, and everybody get a raise next year. That's kind of the mindset we need to have. But you mentioned a couple of times, walk a mile in my shoes.
Yeah.
I think that salespeople should spend the day working out in production, spend a day working out there, and see what's involved. I will always have my art staff come and work in the screen room, so that they understand, those film positives, they're sitting back there, what process they have to go through, and if the screen department is having issues with the films that are coming back, and so the sales department understands that. But I send production people out on sales calls with the sales rep, and here's one that really told the tale for everybody, and it was communicated through the whole company. The quality control supervisor went on some sales calls with one of our sales reps. Actually, went with the sales manager, and and they went into a bookstore, and the people who were not the buyer, but the people who were actually in the back uncrating the shirts and putting them on the shelves. And one of those people said to our sales rep and to our QC manager, "Yeah, we're always telling people, or always telling our buyer to not buy from you guys." And they're both like looking at each other. "Well, why?" "Because our shelves are oddly shaped, and all the other vendors fold the shirts differently to fit on the shelves." And of course, there's another communication issue. The buyer never communicated that to the sales rep. It was only found out when QC was back there talking to the people who handled the shirts. But those people handling the shirts were undermining that sales rep every day, saying, "Hey, it'd be better if you bought these shirts from so and so," and simply because it made their job easier to fold them the right way to fit on the shelves. And
Yeah.
and um, if you're communicating with people, and I will tell you this, the QC supervisor came back and she said it was eye-opening going on these sales calls, and the sales rep lugging in all the sample kits, and standing in front of the buyer doing a little song and dance, and talking about how this garment goes with this garment and how these packages go together. And she said, I thought it was fun and games, and man, it's a lot of work. These guys do a lot of work, and it's just like Aaron, when you go to trade shows and people back in the office get to go to the trade show too, and they go, "This isn't like you guys just going out and having cocktails. You guys skipped lunch. You guys, it's like brutal. I mean, you're talking, talking, talking. I heard you tell the same story 17 times. It's
This is
almost
where
like
you got it from.
little guys."
Oh, I love it. Yeah. So all these things, I think you kind of hit it, but Ramona also shared, going back to Aaron's walk in their shoes thought, wouldn't it be helpful if sales walk through a process with production, right? And again, just I
Yeah.
think that's all goes back to your regular communication. So I know one of your things that I love and I borrow often is the concept of 5215. But what else? What are some things that maybe
Yeah,
explain that, and then
5215
also what else?
training, but one thing that has always been, and this always starts a little contentious. I'll tell you this: you buy pizza, you invite the sales and the production crew, and everybody's sitting around having pizza, and you go around the room and say, "What would make the sales and production relationship better?" And as I said, sometimes it's contentious. Sometimes a production person's going to raise their hand and go, "Well, if they stop sending us rush orders," and then but as it goes along, the conversation kind of starts hitting on solutions. It starts hitting on, if we could just have one more bit of information on the orders, and the sales reps are like, "Oh, we can do that. We didn't know didn't realize you needed that. That's an easy fix." And 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 you do this maybe quarterly, where for me, Aaron, even with just my production crew, I'll have the pizza day and say, "Tell me one thing that will make your job easier. Tell me one thing that will make your job better." And it's like you hear things that are like that. I never thought about it, but you're right. That would make your job much easier and much better. There's no reason we can't do that. And so anyway, and Aaron, we're all working towards the same goal, as I mentioned. Um, we just have to learn to look at it not just through the lens of each individual department. So, and that's, like I was saying, that's the job of the manager. That's the job of the owner, to give everybody the grand scale look, the the perspective of we're all on the same team. And so, and these things don't happen overnight.
Yeah.
It's a mindset, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, when I went to most of the shops I've gone to, they're dirty, they're disorganized, they're chaotic, and just by just by fixing some of those things, people start taking pride in what they do, pride in their work,
Yeah.
and and everybody's a lot happier coming to work. And our employees, they spend the majority of their waking hours with us together, and it should be a pleasant experience for everybody. Nobody wants to hate to come to work every day.
Absolutely.
So
100%. 100%. I want to slip in Ramona's comment because you kind of talked about this, but I liked her comment here. She said, when I was a team lead trainer, my people always come to me and say, I didn't know. And I always said back, how could you know if nobody told you? Right. And that's to that communication point you were making. But I love how you also tied that up there at the end, right? It's a mindset, it's a culture, and it doesn't change overnight. And so, what's the first thing? I mean, just, hey, stop, pick up the piece of trash on the ground, and let that be the first step. And people go, oh, Terry, the owner, Terry, the manager, he stopped and picked up the piece of trash. So maybe I should do that too, right? And it's not,
right.
again, it's not going to change overnight, but start small and work out, and you can have that kumbaya relationship.
You absolutely can.
There you go. Terry proved it to us. So my friend Craig, who said, are you serious? Craig, he's serious, and he gave us the tools to do it. All right, Terry. Well, this has been awesome. What is coming up for you? Where's Terry's big book of travels? I can't wait to announce the real big book of travels. But for now, where's Terry heading?
Well, I just had my screen printing class in Chicago last weekend. So, complete screen print business course at Atlas Screen Supply. Next will be August 22nd and 23rd, and then I'll round out the year on November 7th and 8th. I try to make sure that I'm not there when it snows because I've lived that. I'm going to be at DAX Nashville next week, June 9th and 20th. Aaron, you and I'll both be there.
Yep.
And I will be in the DTF Superstore booth. So if you're going to be in Nashville, come by and say hello. Last DAX show I did, 6 different people stopped by to say they had attended one of my screen printing classes. So I love to hear from people who've previously been in classes. So all my upcoming events will be at terrycombs.com. How about you, Aaron?
Love it. Love it. Yeah. DAX Nashville is like I said, the next thing on the list, like you had mentioned. And it's great to have you back. I have heard people go, wait a second, that's your podcast co-host over there, isn't it? I can tell by his laugh. I'm like, yep, it's pretty distinctive, and it's pretty awesome to hear that laugh again. So, but if you guys will go register at daxshow.com, you can use the code SuperRob2026, and that'll get you a $30 educational credit plus free entry into the show floor. So come on out. It's out at the now I just blanked on the location because it's not at the convention center. It's out at the Farm Bureau Exposition Center in Lebanon, Tennessee. So it's not the crazy expensive downtown area. It's actually great out there, really neat little place. And so it's going to be awesome show. I am teaching 2 classes as I normally do, and Friday, June 19th at 10:30 a.m. The Myth of Everyone is My Customer is the name of the class, and just an opportunity for us to work together to see why focusing on a niche is an uncommon mindset that is required for success. And then we're going to take that information and work together to identify what your ideal customer blueprint might look like, and how you can put that to work to attract more business. So make sure you sign up for that. I've had really great feedback from folks on that. And so I want to get more people in that room because I think people are missing out on these opportunities to learn this stuff. And then immediately after that, if you're feeling a little overwhelmed, we've got a class called Bye Bye Burnout. I'd say even if you're not feeling a little overwhelmed, it's a great tool to have in your tool bag. And so we identify what burnout is, what's causing it, and then work to remove it from our daily lives. The people that attend, they leave with strategies and tools that tame the burnout, remove overwhelm, and create sustainable habits that keep your creativity and business thriving. So again, even if you're not quite there yet, I'm sure there'll be a day where it shows up. So these are tools that you want to have in your tool belt, right? Like people go spend a lot of time going, how do I run this piece of equipment? Awesome, learn that. But if you're burnt out, it doesn't matter how well you run that piece of equipment, right? So you need to look at these types of classes. I think sometimes people gloss over them thinking, okay, I have limited time. It's well worth your 90 minutes, and I've got people that will back me up on that. So it's not just me being arrogant about it, Terry. So, and then the next morning at 8:30, I get to facilitate with Rob Super and Sean Stewart, and I'm sure Terry will be in the room as well, where we break down the entire DTF process. The class is called DTF 101, from file to finished print, what actually matters. And it's a completely free class, so just pop in there. I know 8:30 is early, but it's well worth your time. And we just want to give people the real information on what we've seen in, Rob got into this really early on, just like
Yeah.
DTF Superstore. I think, really that the pioneers of the space that are still here, right? A lot of people came, a lot of people have gone, but when you get people that have been doing this as long as they have and talk to the people and are looking for ways to just figure out, how we can look at the entire picture, not just your film, your printer, your this, that, the other thing, right? And because Terry, I go and look at the Facebook groups out there, and they are just crowded with issues and challenges and things where it's like, oh man, you're so missing the point, right? And so we want to point out to you what part of the process might be costing you money that you might not even be thinking about. So I think it's a pretty good class, don't you, Terry? You were set in.
A great class. It's free, and Rob Super, he geeks out over the things that are really important to the process, the adhesives, color gamut, things like that, things that are really important to actually be successful doing this process. Anybody can buy a machine. Anybody can learn to push the button. There's more to it than that. So it's worth your price of admission. It's absolutely free, and take advantage of that.
Yeah. Most people would pay for it. So come on and take advantage of that opportunity. All right. So for Eric coming up here, shifting gears, because we've got Terry's secret sauce coming up. So we're just about ready for that. But I want to share what Eric has today, as long as the internet works for him. Fingers crossed, right? No, it's all good. We made this happen. So I'm sure Eric will be good. So it's the Take Up episode 255. Logo lettering breakdown, beveled glyphs. And in this episode, Eric will jump into a deep dive, and I can guarantee you it will be a deep dive. He is that type of guy that likes to get into, because if we don't understand what's going on underneath, we'll never understand the concept. So great deep dive on how various beveled, chiseled, raised textures are created both in flat satin and 3D. With the teardown of two of his commercial logo type designs with an eye towards how to build those bevels. So if you'll jump in at 2:30 Mountain Time, 4:30 Eastern Time, you can find it by heading over to ericcampbell.com and click that Take Up tab at the top. And that will not only get you access to today's episode, but all of those past episodes. And you can find it through his YouTube channel as well. So that's what Eric's got happening, excuse me, Terry. And I want to know, if we only had purple, could I sell more? Can you share your secret sauce?
Let's do it. All right. I'm Terry Combs, and my secret sauce today is, if we only had purple, I could sell more. Or maybe the title should be, Success Isn't Built Trying to Be Everything to Everybody. So I once managed a group of sales reps selling in the fraternity and sorority marketplace, and I realized that some of the reps would take our 54-page catalog of products, then go forth and sell. Others would call me regularly and say things like, if we had purple polos, I could sell more. And my response would be, we have 12 colors of polos. And the rep would come back with, yeah, but this one fraternity asked for purple. Can we get purple? Here's my view on this. We put thought and research into our line of products, and you put thought and research into your line of products. We aren't going to be able to satisfy every need, every whim. If most of my reps said, Terry, purple comes up a lot with my customers, I'm probably going to add purple next season, but I'm not adding purple because you want to be an order taker rather than a sales rep. So what I'm not going to do is spend my days sourcing every product a potential customer dreams up. My response to the rep who asks for something off the price list is, sell what we got not what we don't got. That's poor English for maximum effect. What I really mean is call on customers who are in the market for what we sell. Don't try to squeeze every customer through the sales process by offering anything and everything under the sun. This can really apply to all of us. Would you rather be a boutique offering unique and special products, or do you want to be Walmart of garment decorating? I'm going to answer it for you. Be the boutique with a product line that's easier to control and easier to decorate because you're repeating the process over and over. You don't want to reinvent the wheel with each order. Go for repeatability over trial and error. So the next time you hear, if we had purple, I could sell more, respond with, sell what we got, not what we don't got. That's my secret sauce for today.
I love it. That's a great secret sauce, Terry. Very good, and a good theme for a lot of things in life, probably. But anyhow, we won't go down that rabbit hole. All right. Well, Craig Bradley says, "Wish I could have gotten on sooner." And with that being said, Craig, the great part about this is it's recorded, so you're on at the perfect time. Just go back as soon as we're done here, and it'll be ready to rock. So Ramona says, "Exactly, Terry. Exactly."
Hey, is this a special episode? We didn't talk about it on the top.
We did not. You're exactly right. So just for those of you that have stayed to the end here, this is our 650th episode. We typically go for the milestones at 100, but we felt like this was also a big day too. And so the fact that I got to interview Terry was pretty darn cool.
Awesome. We want to thank our show producer also, Eric Campbell, for all he does to keep us on the air, pushing those buttons and turning those wheels and fighting tooth and nail with the internet today.
Yeah, appreciate everything that he does for us. And speaking of appreciating everything he does for us, as we talked about, you and I are both going to be in Nashville. You'll be in a trade show booth. I'll be teaching a class. So there won't be a live Two Regular Guys if it was just you and I. But because Eric is such an awesome dude, he has agreed to take over the microphones for us. Hopefully he gives them back afterwards, Terry, but we'll see how it goes. But and I think he's still working on it specifically, but maybe there'll be a guest. Maybe there will be just Eric talking awesome stuff. Whatever it is, it's going to be an awesome show. So make sure that you are tuned in next week and come in and support Eric. Make sure you share with all of your friends out there to join the Two Regular Guys next week at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So the takeover. The take-up takeover. Yeah, there we go. The take-up takeover. I love it.
There you go. All right. Until then, I'm Terry Combs. He's Aaron Montgomery.
And that was the Two Regular Guys.
Here we go. We're out.
Awesome.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Two Regular Guys. We're here because of listeners like you, and we're so grateful to have you on this journey with us. For more valuable insight, be sure to visit our website, 2regularguys.com, and join the conversation on our Facebook page. And hey, if you or someone you know has expertise, a unique perspective, or a story worth sharing, we'd love to have them as a guest on the show. Just reach out. Remember, success in this industry isn't just about the equipment you own or the techniques you've mastered. It's about the mindset you bring and the connections you build. Keep learning, stay curious, and don't be afraid to think differently. Keep pressing on, and we'll catch you on the next episode of the Two Regular Guys.